Welcome to the Leadership Heart Podcast with Sandra J. Horton, the Growth Catalyst.
Well, hi everyone. Sandra J. Horton, your leadership and change strategist. And welcome back to the Leadership Heart Podcast live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And this podcast lives at that intersection of conscious leadership, human connection, and the rapidly evolving realities, I can get that out, of AI. Because in a world moving faster than ever, how we lead really truly matters. This season, we are hearing real conversations with leaders who are helping us think differently, lead intentionally, and stay grounded in what matters most as technology is truly transforming the world around us. I'm going to invite my beautiful guest here today. I would like to welcome Chuki Obiyo. Welcome, Chuki. Chuki has and is and practices the art of science of business development for over 20 plus years. He is a chief business development officer at Vedder and also serves the Next Step CFO Business Coach Academy. He helps leaders transform emotional intelligence into measurable business growth. And from his humble beginnings in Nigeria to coaching professionals globally, he teaches how the right equations and emotions can turn relationships into revenue in today's AI-driven world. Chuki is a graduate of the Northwestern University Fitzger School of Law and the University of Texas at Austin. And this week's episode is entitled Value Add, Leadership, Presence, and Influence. So let's jump on in. Welcome, Chuki.
Sandra, it is an honor and a privilege to be with you today. As you know, one of my foundational philosophies in life is that gratitude is undefeated. So thank you and your great audience for the engagement.
Thank you so much, Chuki. Well, as we jump in, I'm going to open up with a bit of a bigger question, and then I've got so many fun, interesting questions to ask today. And thank you for those who are showing up already. There's some hearts. Things are happening. Thank you for coming on. So you often speak about helping leaders to grow with purpose, perspective, and authenticity. Those are three powerful areas. So how has your own understanding of leadership evolved through those, like adversity and success, to help you understand those pieces?
Yeah, Sandra, thank you so much for the question. And I want to build on my foundational philosophy of gratitude, right? And I truly believe as part of this journey of leadership, because it is a journey, and Sandra, you and I have talked about this, and it's kind of serendipitous how we connected. Yeah. I would say there's a commitment to excellence that happens when you adopt a growth mindset, not a destination mindset, right? So the growth mindset allows you to really embrace life, both personally and professionally, as a journey. We're sort of navigating these challenges, right? So we navigate challenges as it relates to personal development. We navigate challenges as it relates to business development, on, and even organizational management challenges that we've got to navigate, right? So when I think of how adversity plays into that, I would say adversity should be met with a mindset of identifying sources of gratitude. And what does that look like? So when we think of sources of gratitude, that's embedded in relationships that we have, right? So adversity often surfaces when there's a bit of a relationship friction point that we need to break through. So where gratitude comes in is gratitude builds a bridge. That's exactly what gratitude is, right? So gratitude builds a bridge from adversity to authenticity. And part of that is the breakdown that happens in relationships when you sort of get to that friction point. Someone needs to take the step of just identifying what's most important as part of that relationship interaction. And usually something that's undefeated, that's always important, is gratitude. Hey, I am grateful for the fact that I get access to your insights. I'm grateful for the fact that I get access to your perspective. I'm grateful for the fact that we've accomplished so much together based on our pre-existing relationship. And we need to get through this point of adversity, this point of friction, to get to the other side of the bridge, to build on more of our success, to build on more progress. So that's sort of how leadership has evolved, and I would say really transformed in my mind through a number of these experiences, grounded in gratitude, Sandra.
Yeah. And I love to also, it's about energy. I mean,
Yes.
when I was, kind of really like growing in myself and understanding the importance of gratitude, like I'm grateful. Thank you for those who are listening in, because
Yeah.
it's the power. Like when you really, truly feel gratitude, anything and all things are possible. And
Yes.
especially in this world, I've got constant change. And so for many professionals, what I have seen, what I've experienced is they still struggle though with that inner dialogue. It's that mental models, it's that rotating kind of conversation in the back of our head that really is starting to affect their confidence, their identity, their visibility, how they actually go into that conversation you were just talking about. They're either going to withdraw or they're going to move forward. They can get aggressive. Like there's a lot of things that can happen. So, and to feel fully seen as well. So what have you learned about that relationship between this authenticity, the leadership presence, and this influence?
I love the way you frame that question based on what I've learned, right? I mean, that's part of it. This is an education exercise. It's a learning process. No one's ever really arrived at any of these insights. So, Sandra, here's what I would submit to you. There's a word that you used earlier, which I so resonate with: energy, right?
Yep.
If we think of the etymology, the root foundation of the word emotion, that's effectively what emotion is. So if you sort of deconstruct the word emotion, it's energy in motion. And wherever our focus and our attention is pointed, that's where our energy flows. So in that sort of relationship dynamic, whether there's a point of disagreement or disconnection, our attention, if it points to the negative aspects of that disagreement, the negative content in that dispute, what tends to happen is that that's where our energy sort of grows and reverberates around. But if our energy is pointed at, hey, this disagreement with my management team, or this disagreement with my life partner, or this disagreement with my business partner can help us clarify our roles and responsibilities in a way that solidifies our relationship moving forward, your energy is pointed at something that's a little bit more constructive.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
Please, yeah. And tell me more about your agreement in that, Sarah, because I know you've got a base of experience in this that I just really admire.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're mirrors, right? Like, and this is what I love about the podcast. We are on the Leadership Heart podcast because my heart's like bouncing out right now. Because there's so much importance with this. It's not just energy. Some people can say, oh, the word energy, I don't know, it doesn't resonate with me. But just think of it, your last situation. Imagine yourself in this moment. If you are having that conversation, whether it's with your kid or your husband or your work, a colleague, etc., or even a boss, how and what you come into that is so critical. It's your presence, isn't it? So if your energy is like this, even if I brought my energy and I slow down and I talk like that, it's so different. So I think this is a critical piece about that relationship, about presence and owning yourself. Really, I mean, this is about owning and knowing yourself, isn't it? Like, it's the relationship to yourself first. This is what I'm called to share right now. It's about us. Do we know ourselves?
It really is. Like self-awareness, practiced, and with the right level of discipline can be a superpower. So self-awareness, when activated with the right level of practice, Sandra, with the right level of discipline, can be a superpower, really in any setting, whether in professional settings or in maybe personal or social settings. I believe it, and I believe it the most. And I love the way you frame that. It's owning yourself and knowing yourself. And for the listeners too, one way to really bring this to life with this sort of mind frame that Sandra and I are talking about with energy is that we've got to just think of the natural law of energy, right? So there's sort of this natural law of the conservation of energy, right? So the law of conservation of energy, I mean, it demonstrates to us that energy cannot really be created or destroyed. It just only transfers from one form to another, from one person to another, from one meeting to another, from one calendar commitment to another. And it is always sort of transferring, right? So when we practice the right level of self-awareness, like, what am I really about? Like, what do I really want to accomplish in this next appointment? What do I really want to tell this client to ensure that we can take the relationship from level A to level A plus? You have to have the right discipline and practice of energy in that kind of interaction to really drive it forward. Because again, with the absence of that level of commitment, you get entropy, right? I mean, that's what happens. You just sort of get this inertia, this malaise. So, Sandra, those are my perspectives on that. But again, I really love the way you framed the question.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting part, because I want to move to a next kind of a junction, because really, if you know yourself and you understand what's driving you and you bring in that positivity with gratitude, we've talked about the authenticity, you don't have to perform so much. You can actually just be present with yourself and have presence, because they're two different things. And so one of the things here that I want to reframe is, because the work that you're doing, I want to do a serious shout out to the great work, the framework, the platform that you're bringing forward, the relationship to revenue.
Yes.
And one of the things that you really talk about is you're reframing the business development from selling service to value creation. We're shifting a little bit because it's important. And I'm going to just do a quick little shout out to Chuki. Because the key here is that you're doing something important, because relationship to revenue explores how emotional intelligence, trust, relationship capital, which is what we're talking about, can create meaningful business growth and impact. So what do you believe people misunderstand most about influence, trust, and relationship-centered leadership today?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I really appreciate the shout out, by the way. So look, I am standing on the shoulder of giants. And when I say giants, I mean clients that I've worked with through the decades, colleagues, brilliant, knowledgeable colleagues that I've worked with through the decades, and these great leaders that I get the benefit to have access and have conversations with. So the rel to rev framework, the relationship to revenue framework, was really born out of these great interactions from these sort of giant minds, brilliant minds that I've sort of shaped and molded a number of these strategies around in our interactions. So I want to start there. I really want to pay compliments and give the right level of props to these individuals. And by the way, Sandra, you're part of that mix. Like all of our interactions, yeah, you really are. All of our interactions, I've walked away with just insights and reframes that I didn't quite have walking into the interaction. So that's where the value creation mindset's got to be activated, right? So oftentimes when people think of selling, they think of selling as, I've got to get someone to do something, right? So selling is what I get someone to do, and then I get the benefit of them doing this thing. Selling should be reframed and recasted as an exercise in servant leadership, right? Got to put the value in first, and then the natural next step from you driving all this value is growth in the relationship, which would be evidenced by revenue. In fact, I was having a great conversation with a number of clients on this. Revenue is evidence of value. That's effectively what it is. Probably the simplest definition for revenue is just evidence of the value that you've created. In time one, you get the revenue. In time two, but you've created the value in time one. So to the point about just how that reframe needs to happen. So there's some next steps to really drive this. And I want to make this practical, and I sort of lay out these steps, and then I'll pause and get your reaction to this. So I've come up with a framework within the framework. So you've got the rel to rev framework, and then I've got this auto framework, AUTO.
Remember that, everybody. AUTO.
AUTO. So the A starts with awareness, what you and I talked about, right? So awareness. Yeah. There's got to be an awareness for self and then an awareness for who you serve. So it's awareness for self and then awareness for the stakeholders that you serve. The U is for understanding. Once you become aware of the stakeholders that you serve, it's incumbent on you to learn more, understand more about the context and the content that they care most about. The T is for trust. So you've developed an appreciation and an understanding of the content and the context of your stakeholders that you want to serve. Naturally, you could build more trust by speaking to the content and the context that are most relevant to these stakeholders. Once you cross that trust threshold, you get to the O. And here's what's great about the O. O is about offers, opportunities, options. We don't get to the O without doing the work for the awareness, the understanding, the trust, and then we can make offers, then we can lay out options, then we can grow opportunities. So that's the framework, that's the auto framework, and that practically would help with the reframe from just selling to sell and selling to serve.
I love it. I love it. I even put it in the YouTube. I go on YouTube. And if you're on there right now, make sure you put the auto into your autopilot, into your mind, because it's a simple mechanism. It's a simple way to help reframe and to provide a new way forward. Because when we look at change, we look at where we're at today, we're going to keep moving this forward with good positive energy because, you know, we are living through this change. We're not selling, even though we are basically all promoting, we're all open, we're all sending energy out. So however you look at it, whether your value is going to be in a revenue stream or your value is just sharing words, we're still, you know, sharing our energy, we're sharing our message, because for all of us who are living in this age today, especially in AI and rapid change, I want to really kind of dive into more about change and the readiness to change. This is that meet and greet kind of part where we're like, oh, I want to change. I want to do things differently. I know myself. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go. But I'm like, whoa, wait. I have to kind of manage this whole performance pressure. It's reshaping how people look at work and how we connect. So how do leaders maintain, this is important, everyone, how do leaders maintain meaningful human connection and trust? So that's going to build into the auto, into maintain meaningful connection and trust, and increasing, especially, which is more important because of everything else right now is a lot transactional environments that we're in.
Correct. The way leaders do this, Sandra, and I, again, just want to hit this head on.
Yep.
You schedule it. You schedule in-person interactions as often as you can. It's great that we're in the zone where there's a proliferation of AI. It's great that we're deep into the digital age. All of these manifestations of technology are great.
Yeah.
We have to be even more intentional about meaningful human interactions. So yeah, we schedule it. Like your calendar can be both your competitive advantage or your competitive disadvantage.
True.
So we schedule it, right? That's exactly how we do this. In fact, there are a number of internal clients that have had some success with this where we were very disciplined on this. It's like, all right, look, it's been 2 to 3 weeks and a lot of your proactive meetings, a lot of meetings that you've proactively scheduled have all been WebEx or Zoom or, you know, some of these other platforms where it's virtual.
Yep.
Can we reschedule one of these meetings to be in person?
That's a shift back though, you know, Chuki. And it's interesting. And the reason I want to jump in on that, because I think that's, you know, relevant for those who are listening now or listening later, you know, on all the beautiful podcast platforms. Like, where do you resonate with that? Because for some of us, we live in the virtual world. Some people live in the actual physical world. So how do you manage and navigate this kind of change resistance, this change, opportunity, because I'm always about the positive opportunities and everything, because that's a unique place and space. Everyone looks at that kind of arrangement differently, Chuki, honestly.
They do. And keep in mind, one of the ways to stay disciplined on this is it's not just about business relationships being scheduled for in person. So you can have a dynamic where all of your business appointments are virtual, but you make it a point, maybe there's a professional networking endeavor, or maybe there's a social networking endeavor that you make that endeavor in person.
Yeah. I really like that. And I think it's important because, particularly for many individuals, the big conversation right now is we're dealing with all this change with AI. Where does my leadership going to fit in? How do I accept things? I'm going through this change. But for many leaders, whether it's, you're engaging virtually or in person, some professionals are avoiding visibility, particularly around business development and self-advocacy. Now, this could be a little bit of a interesting trigger point here for people. Just throwing that up. That's my little loop is like, do I advocate for myself? I don't know, because it can feel uncomfortable and inauthentic. See how we're looping these different pieces in? Because the first section was about self-awareness. Got to know yourself. The next is like, okay, how am I going through this change? How do I want to be present in that change? And how do you help leaders truly move beyond the fear and step into their leadership with greater confidence and alignment? This is my kind of, I love this part. This is my happy place.
So Sandra, there's a perspective that I have on this, and I've also outlined the perspective, and then I'll pause because I really want your thoughts on this. So part of how I address this is to really key in on the experience of confidence. I don't just say word. I say the experience of confidence. So I've done a lot of independent research on this, and in many ways, I really try to drive some scholastic endeavors just on how words evolve through the decades, centuries, generations, right? So if we sort of look at the word confidence, and we deconstruct that word, right? Break it up into some component parts. Effectively, the word con is with, and then fidence is a derivative of fidelity or loyalty. So confidence is you are loyal to a cause, and that's the way to think about driving from a position of fear and trepidation and hesitation to confidence. Like, what are you loyal to? What are you willing to stay true from a fidelity perspective, right? So there are a number of things that people really care about in these sorts of interactions. One of the things that I try to have folks outline their loyalty to is, are you loyal to your family? So if it's a situation where it's like, look, I do this kind of work to build legacy for my family, or I engage in this kind of an industry to really make a difference in this meaningful way for this kind of a community. Well, that's something that you're loyal to. So from that loyalty commitment, confidence should be pulled and drawn from that, sort of like a bank account that you can make these withdrawals from. But you've got to build up the bank account. And the way you build up that bank account is just to think of confidence as, what am I loyal to? And how can I stay true to that thing that I'm loyal to? So that's my take on that. And then that's where alignment comes in, right? Because once you've identified the thing that you're truly loyal to, then you drive actions and decisions based on that. What are your thoughts on this, Sandra? I love it.
You know what? I love it. And I think that I go back to the quintessential question. You got to know, who am I?
Yeah. Yes.
Where am I going? How am I going to get there? How am I going to stay there? Because it's inner work. It's really going, like the Leadership Heart podcast is about going inside, and then you're transformed from the inside out. So if you know what you believe, what you're truly aligned to, get out of the back brain, the fear, the old limiting beliefs, the things that perhaps can keep you stuck, that can perhaps cause you some challenge, especially in this age of AI. We need to stop. And we need to choose. I want to bring in this because I really feel this is about choice, isn't it? It's
It is.
having enough self-awareness to choose how I want to respond and not react. Because fear, back brain, boom, your amygdala has been hijacked and you're running down the train and you're freaking out on people. And it's like, no, that's not going to help you. That's not going to make your leadership effective. So I feel alignment is being able to understand ourselves and say, breath in, ground, make a choice, connect to ourselves, observe, reflect, and engage. That's what I think alignment is, because then you're conscious and you're in the present moment. And I think, especially in this AI, that's where we're going. And so that's a lot I just dumped on there, but I think that's important because we're moving in this AI world, and we're only going to be as good as we are as humans in this human-centered world. Yes. To look at where do you think we're going to go in the next 5 to 10 years, Chuki?
Yeah, remarkable, right? So to pick up on some of the insights that you shared around alignment, you know what alignment gives us, Sandra? Alignment gives us a foundation. And you know what a foundation is really all about? It's about the gravity of our gravitas.
Yeah, no, well said.
Not just to play on words, right? So the gravity of our gravitas. So we got to be grounded in something. Right? So with a lot of the changes that are happening, obviously we are all aware of any number of these changes. I mean, geopolitically, there are changes. Economically, there are changes. And specific to the business world, I mean, there are all these changes in industry trends and regulatory trends, on and on. Got to be grounded in something. So where do I see leadership capacities going in the next 5 to 10 years? I think it will be even more important for leaders to really understand that life is about emotions and equations. Yeah. So to this point about like what we've got to be grounded in, I mean, one of the benefits of, STEM, for example, right? Science, technology, engineering, like one of the benefits of that is that, it's very math based, it's numbers based. And the power of numbers is you can ground things in numbers. You can have these sort of like quantitative exercises where things are not too academic or too theoretical. They're grounded in something. So when I say life is about emotions and equations, here's a really important equation for leaders to really keep in mind. It's about relationship capital. How do you get to relationship capital? You get to relationship capital with 2 C's and 1 T.
I love it.
Consistency plus contribution across time. That's how you build relationship capital. You build that kind of relationship capital with your direct reports. If you're a leader and you've got a team that reports to you, you build that kind of relationship capital with other leaders. So peer-to-peer relationship capital building. And then if you're a leader and you've got leaders above you, you also build that kind of relationship capital with leaders that are above you. So it moves in multiple directions, up, down, and sideways. Again, it's C plus C times T, consistency plus contribution multiplied across time. Now, I think we all sort of get the concept of consistency, but just to laser focus in on that. So think of consistency as giving you the ability to run multiple experiments. That's what consistency allows you to do. You just get a lot of reps. So consistency is reps. You've got a lot of episodes where you're running different plays, you're calling different shots, and you're staying true to an endeavor. Contribution is what you and I talked about earlier. So it's this concept around the value add. So how am I serving, whether I'm serving my direct reports, so it's pointing down, my service might be sideways, pointing across, or my service might be pointing upward to management teams and leadership teams. So that's where relationship capital really comes to fruition. And over the next 5 to 10 years, that level of commitment and understanding that equation, I think, will be critically important. Will drive promotions, will drive leadership impact, will drive how leaders build their legacy. Yep. Consistency, contribution across time. So Sandra, that's
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a mic drop. And okay, so talk about legacy. What kind of impact or legacy do you hope your leadership ultimately leaves behind for others?
I hope as part of interactions like this with leaders, great leaders like you, Sandra, and others,
Nice.
that we drive the appreciation for gratitude. So that's a big thing for me because I think it's a foundation, right? So if we all practice sincere gratitude in the way that we need to practice sincere gratitude, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. Like ladders get built. So ladders get built with gratitude. Doors get opened with gratitude. People get more seats at the table with gratitude. So that's part of what I would want my legacy in these interactions to be, to really promote and drive the appreciation for gratitude.
I love that. My heart is very happy with that because I truly believe as well that gratitude is the foundation of everything. It's just a way of beingness. It's about presence. I mean, the big key thing is that gratitude. So as we come to the end of our podcast, I can't believe we're already at 31 minutes. How did that happen? The True Leadership Heart podcast, we explore the intersection of strategy, humanity, and conscious leadership. All about that presence in a rapidly changing world. So for you personally, what does it mean to lead with heart today?
It goes back to exactly the concluding remarks that you and I just exchanged around gratitude. Leading with heart is leading with gratitude. And here's what's powerful about gratitude, Sandra. Here's what's really remarkable about gratitude is that people get to feel when you're really grateful. They feel it. It's tangible. It's something that they can hold on to. That's leadership with heart. That's truly leadership with heart, right?
I love it.
Thank you.
And you know, I feel it. And again, that's the opportunity for everyone here is like, as you've been listening, as you're, taking in this information, what are you feeling? What are you hearing? What are you hearing yourself also speak? Because we take in information, we process it in different ways. And then take time now to write this out on a piece of paper. What stood out for you? What is one simple thing? What can you imagine today for tomorrow being able to do? One simple step, because it's in the action, it's in the receiving of the feeling that we shift our state. That's why gratitude is so powerful. It grounds us into this ever-present moment where our heart is connected to our mind, it's connected to a higher purpose and calling, I call consciousness as we evolve. And I think that's the most beautiful gift that you are doing, Chuki. And so how can listeners learn more about your work and to connect with you?
Well, one of the ways that they could learn about my work is to listen and re-listen to this podcast, to watch and rewatch this podcast, and continue to really promote the great work, the inspiring work that Sandra is doing. So that's point one. Point two, obviously, you can follow me on LinkedIn. And through LinkedIn, you can get access to the insights and thought leadership that I share from time to time. But again, I just really appreciate everyone's attention. Thank you, not just for your time, but your time investments.
Thank you so much, Chuki. Well, today has been an absolutely amazing opportunity to share time and space with Chuki. And please do follow Chuki. He's amazing on LinkedIn and all the good work that he is doing. And so until the next Leadership Heart podcast, I am glad that all things are back in full steam as we move forward. Thanks again to my great guests, and we will see you again at the Leadership Heart podcast. Chuki, I'll see you in just one moment.